Dear student, this is Kiran. Welcome to Kiran. Dear student, in this session we are discussing about how to balance the chemical equation. Before going through the process of balancing the chemical equation, first we have to understand what actually mean by chemical equation. A chemical equation is written representation of a chemical reaction. Generally, a chemical equation is representation of a chemical reaction. Chemical equation has two sides. Mainly it has two sides, reactant side and product side. Both of these sides are separated by reaction arrow. It also reveals a number of atoms of an element or compound. In this equation, there are 4 number of hydrogen atoms are there. Likewise, 2 atoms of oxygen. This is how in chemical equation we will find number of atoms of each element or compound. Then physical states of element or compound can also represented by chemical equation. In each and every chemical equation we will find physical states of element or compound. Here hydrogen and oxygen both are in gaseous form, whereas water is in liquid form. This is all of about chemical equation. Dear student, how can we balance the chemical equation? On which principle it depends on? In a reaction, atoms are neither created nor destroyed. This is the principle on which the process of balancing the chemical equation depends on. A chemical reaction must have an equal number of each type of atom on both sides of reaction arrow. It's very simple. A chemical equation possesses same number of atoms on reactant side and product side. In this example, on reactant side, 4 number of ion atoms are there. Product side also we will find 4 number of ion atoms. And oxygen carries 6 number of atoms on both reactant and product side. In the same way, carbon also has 3 number of atoms on reactant side and product side. So this is the principle we have to follow while balancing the chemical equation. Dear student, while balancing the chemical reaction, we must have to consider one rule. That is, you can only change the coefficients. Here, you can change in chemical equation, you can change only coefficients, not subscripts. This is the very important rule we must have to follow while balancing the chemical equation. What is that rule? It's very simple. You can change the coefficients but not the subscripts of element or compound. Dear student, let us balance this chemical equation. To balance the chemical equation, we have to follow different methods. First, we have to draw boxes around each formulae. Then we have to count the number of atoms of each element. Here in this equation, On reactant side, only one atom of ion is there. On product side, there are 3 atoms of ion are there. 1 atom of ion on reactant side, 3 atoms of ion on product side. Then consider the hydrogen. Hydrogen has 2 atoms of its own on reactant side. On product side, same number of atoms are there with respect to hydrogen. Then consider the oxygen. On both sides, if we consider the number of atoms of oxygen, on reactant side only 1 atom of oxygen is there. On the product side 4 atoms of oxygen are there. Then after listing the number of atoms on both the side, third step is very important. We have to start balancing the chemical equation with the compound that has maximum number of atoms, maybe product or reactant. In the third step, we have to start balancing process with that compound which has maximum number of atoms. In this equation, Fe3O4 is a compound that has maximum number of atoms, and hence we have to start with this compound. Here in this compound 2 elements are there, ion and oxygen. Here oxygen has 4 atoms of its own. On reactant side only 1 oxygen atom is there. So that to balance the oxygen atoms on both sides, here we have to place 4 as a coefficient with water molecule. So that we have to place 4 coefficient with water molecule. So here what happens, oxygen on reactant side has 4 atoms of its own. On product side also we will find 4 atoms of oxygen. Now oxygen is balanced on both sides. Then we have to consider hydrogen atom. Here in reactant side 8 number of hydrogen atoms are there. On product side only 2 hydrogen atoms are there. So that we have to put coefficient along with hydrogen element on product side, so that we have to keep 4 as a coefficient before hydrogen, so that hydrogen also balanced on both sides. Both oxygen and hydrogen are balanced. Now only the element Fe must have to be balanced. Fe has to be balanced. On reactant side only 1 atom of ion is there. On product side 3 atoms of ion are there. To balance the ion atom, we have to again insert 3 as a coefficient along with ion atom, so that now we have to insert 3 as a coefficient along with ion atom. Now on reactant side 3 atoms of ion atoms are there. On product side 3 atoms of ion are there. On reactant side, 3 atoms of ion element are there. On product side, 3 atoms of ion are there, and hence both the sides we will find same number of atoms. Then the equation is said to be balanced. This is how we can balance the equation with the help of these conjugative steps. Dear student, let us balance another equation. As usual, first step is to draw boxes around each formula. So we have to draw boxes around each formula. Then we have to count number of atoms on both the sides. Carbon has 1 atom on reactant side, and at the same time it has 1 atom on product side. 4 atoms of hydrogen on reactant side, 1 atom of hydrogen on product side. Chlorine has 2 atoms on reactant side, 5 atoms on product side. After counting the number of atoms on both the sides, then we have to start the process of balancing the equation with that compound that has maximum number of atoms. In this equation, CCl4 is the compound that has maximum number of atoms. And another one is CH4 is another compound which possesses maximum number of atoms. Let us consider the carbon atoms. Both the side carbon balanced. Let us consider the carbon. Carbon has equal number of atoms on both the sides. So that here we have to consider hydrogen, because chlorine possesses odd number of atoms. So that is why we have to focus on hydrogen. We have to focus on the element hydrogen. Here what happens, on the product side only 1 hydrogen atom is there. Reactant side 4 atoms of hydrogen are there. To balance the element hydrogen on both the sides, we have to add 4 as a coefficient before HCl on product side. So that we have to add 4 as a coefficient before HCl. So now hydrogen atoms on both the side balanced. Then we have to focus on the chlorine. Here in case of reactant side, totally 8 number of chlorine atoms are there. But on reactant side only 2 chlorine atoms are there. To balance the chlorine element on both the side, we have to place 4 as a coefficient before chlorine on reactant side. Now we have to place 4 as a coefficient along with chlorine. Now on both the sides we will find 8 atoms of chlorine. So now if we consider the number of atoms of each element and compound, let us determine whether the equation is balanced or not. Here on both the side we will find one atom of carbon. Then consider the hydrogen. 4 atoms of hydrogen are there on both the sides, and finally 8 number of atoms of chlorine are present on both the sides. Now we can say the equation is completely balanced. Dear student, this is how we can balance the chemical equation. In the next session, we will start with different types of chemical reactions. Thank you.